Good afternoon. How is everyone doing? Woohoo! Yes. So we are so privileged and feel so honored and blessed to have a number of guests here today. And we are more honored and more blessed to have our Gwa'sala-Nakwaxda'xw members here sharing this historical event with us today. I want to say Gilakesla, I want to say thank you. And with that, we're going to ask Chief Leslie Walkus to come up and share a prayer and start us off in a really good way.
Before we pray, since 1964 we have lost hundreds of kids, not only death, but through other people. So we're going to stand for a moment of silence for those that we have lost. Wacha. Sumats oor da saukwe kan squeaky zich kan huisla kan squeaky zich kan sasem zoetklama Gilakesla gekeme kochte gachir gachens maar gisteren gachos kwakelig gachenoch gisteren soortgast summers. The spiritual wisdom that you have is so much needed in our lives, O God. And Father, as we open, our hearts will open for you, because only you are the one that created and who we are. And we ask for your presence in here, O God, especially for the people that are leading here, O God. And, O God, walk with us. Talk with us. And we ask for your presence again in Jesus' name. And we ask for your presence as we eat too, O God. Bless the food now in Jesus' name. Amen.
Gilakesla, Chief Leslie Walkus. We have a number of people that are going to be sharing words of welcome, and according to cultural protocol, we'd like to call up Chief David Knox.
Today is an honorable day to be here today, to collectively to open this up to great ways. For these next biggest steps, I got to talk to history, as I always talk to history, as we in the coastal community of this whole coast, stretching from the west to all the way south. We all have our own origin stories, whether it's from the sky, the land, the ocean, the supernatural world. And we date back for Rupert, 10,000 years carbon dated across BC ferries, 92 miles up the coast, top end of Calderon. 14,000 years, 700 generations, we're still kicking today. Even though the banning of the potlatch is 1880, 1844, and then it was really put on us, the Indian Act, 1874. 1921 is when they threw us heavy in the residential schools because of the misinterpretation, I feel. It was a total misinterpretation. The boat people, the church people, they thought we worship our totem poles. They thought our potlatch was crazy because a chief would accumulate so much resources and distribute it amongst all the neighboring nations. They couldn't fathom that. And plus, they thought we worship our totem poles, but no. It shows us who we are and where we come from. One of the four worlds where we all believe in. And this history is unbelievable. That 1921, like I say, they threw us heavy to get the language, to get our culture, to get our ways, our customs out of us. Thank God some of our families come through unbroken line of traditions. Some families have a potluck for over 100 years. But I'm so fortunate that some of the roots, my ancestors, we always potlatch through time immemorial. So it's so important to lift our youth up, to give them the identity from like 2 centuries of being suppressed, being colonized, for us not being us. Even the banning of potlatch was uplifted in 1951. My great-grandfather, Mung Martin, had the first legal potlatch in 1953, roughly 70 years ago, downtown Victoria at Wahoo-Deela. So there's so much to fathom of what all our ancestors have suffered through time immemorial. How do we make so wrong to make it right? It's to work together collectively, to lift our youth up, to prize our youth, and to prize what elders we have left. You know, since the pandemic, I've seen so much of elders go all our coastlines. And the level of suicide, opioids, and the alcoholism is at its worst I've ever saw it. You know, and the biggest thing right now, I feel it's called restoration economy. It's up to us to help heal our lands, and we the people will heal with our lands together. But I don't want to get too long-winded. I just had to talk that timeline in history. Gwa'sala-Nakwaxda'xw for this incredible day today. Gwa'sala-Nakwaxda'xw.
Hereditary Chief Makwa, Patty.
Gwa'sala-Nakwaxda'xw to each one of you that has come together to look to the future for our families, our children, our precious children. We have a term that I'm sure a lot of us have heard amongst our elders, our matriarchs. Gwa'sala-Nakwaxda'xw. That term of endearment states in its own interpretation what that Gwa'sala-Nakwaxda'xw means to a child. Gwa'sala-Nakwaxda'xw, you are the reason for my living. Simple. But that's the values and the teachings of our old people, is to maintain and to sustain a way of life for our children. It was eroded in history. Some of what our chief alluded to earlier, colonization, residential school, now case relocation. Now the impact it had on our community, our people, our families. I take a great deal of pride personally on the ability of the Gwa'sala-Nakwaxda'xw people to survive the oppression that they have experienced. But the biggest part was the children, the loss, the ability to maintain that sacred connection to the family, to the child. Expression, that term, Gwa'sala-Nakwaxda'xw. To us, it is a big part of our lives. Everyone that is connected to a child can express this more eloquently than I can, because of the pain, the agony, and the losses of those children. Fragmentation of the family. From our perspective, one needs to understand the ideology of our people. The teachings is real. and that's to keep a whole family. You look and consider what happens in a big house, the potlatches, how each child of the family is uplifted to stand proud, to gain identity again that they lost so many years ago. Assimilation process worked to some extent, but the seeds that were planted by our forefathers and mothers are being nurtured today. And we need to understand the importance of this, the vital component that we need to rebuild our families to their former strength that we enjoyed prior to colonization. We had no question in our mind as a child was acknowledged for the coming of age, acknowledged for the 10-month ceremony, acknowledged in marriage. Each part was given support by the family, the host family. But in the witnessing of that, the community provided and gave that support to this family. 2 years ago, I attended a potlatch, and a 4-year-old little boy was participating in a ceremony. A really strong impression I personally felt when I watched that little guy dance. He's not going to be touched by any ministry because he has already an identity. He has a name. He's part of the family that grows. Today's society, we weren't given that opportunity. Every effort was taken to erode that. I said, for those children, our Chief Leslie Walkus mentioned the children lost that will never come back. I don't generally do this, and I know she will be not comfortable, but I'd like to call my eldest granddaughter, Kristen, to come stand with me for a moment. She was not touched by ministry. Her brothers were taken from the mother, who we just recently lost. Kristen had offered to speak in gatherings to tell her story, how she chose to be with us old folk. We were able to work with it. Our dear granddaughter, she wasn't touched by policy. She chose on her own to come and stay with us, to be actively participant in the family. She didn't get allowance, she didn't get any kind of payment. We didn't ask for this from the government. She chose that. She lived a humble life with her grandparents. And she's very productive today. She gained education and has made us proud, made us say with a lot of pride and with a lot of heart, Kolayu, I love you.
Thank you all for being here. It's an honor to be here. I didn't have anything prepared, but I just want to share a little bit of my experience, given the chance. When I went to go live with my grandparents, my mom was struggling at the time, and so I stayed on my grandparents' couch for a little while. There wasn't any rooms available. And my papa always says that I gave up a lot of things that a young teenager would give up, but I just have to correct him on that because I gained a lot of things that a lot of teenagers didn't get. One of the best compliments I've ever received is, I can tell you were raised by your grandparents, and I gained a lot of knowledge and invaluable things. And from my mom also, she struggled, but she also instilled in me from a young age a lot of the attributes that I have today, and my grandparents built on that. And I just think that that whole family structure is really important when raising a kid, and not going into the ministry, and being able to be surrounded by family, not just my grandparents and my mom, but my aunts and uncles and cousins and everything. I think that every child should have that chance, and I'm very honored to be here today. Thank you.
Gwa'sala-Nakwaxda'xw. No, it's not that I was trying to pick family or say that she's my favorite. No, all my kids or grandkids are favorite. And I want to express that because all of them I cherish. All of them are Gwa'sala to me and my dear wife. We don't just say this, we try to practice what is so important. I'd like to use another example. Chief Leslie Walkus, seeing the need for our families to gain strength, and got together potlatch. 3 foster kids in care were invited by his family to be given names, to be given identity. I cried with those 3 kids. They were taken out of his potlatch 40 minutes before the ceremony was to start, to give them their names. The foster parent came. You have to come. One of my kids' friend's birthday is happening. So you have to come. We try to appeal it. I went personally to the worker and said, these kids need to get identity. They never did. They were taken of ministry, supported the foster home in doing that. 2 of those kids are lost to suicide. Whatever we do, and this is what the program is all going to be all about, is rebuilding the family, rebuilding the identity and the structure of that family. I give thanks to all that has worked so diligently to make this happen. As we are not going to be stuck in a poor me mode, we're going to assume the responsibility once again to the level that we exercised what we were taught as children. And we will move forward. So I say Gwa'sala to all of you that has helped make this happen. I said, it warms our heart. This is a historic day for people of the Gwa'sala-Nakwaxda'xw to achieve the direction to one of the most important, if not the most important parts in our lives, our children. I am.
Gwa'sala-Nakwaxda'xw Walkus. Dad. Very honored to call this man my dad.
I asked her to stand with me. Almost as tall as me, but my little girl here, I spoke about it last night, the type of person she was. and what she's like today. You know, our family, when you work, your family works. I have great grandkids out there helping you and behind there. You don't leave them out of what you do. Teach them. Teach them. Before I go on, you people, I cannot say all the names because I won't remember now. The only one I remember is, what's her name again? MLA. Emily. Michelle. Thank you for coming here to come and do a lot of support for our people. Our people needs this so much in our life. Why? The freedom we had out there, the freedom we had before we moved here. Oh, but what happened when we came? But it's not for me to tell the stories. We have, if you ever look at that, what do you call that tape, Colleen? How our people live. That's the tape that we have, so anytime you want to watch it, go see Colleen. So this is our type of life today. We're getting back what we lost for so long, what our people used to do. I was free from 0 to 6 until I was taken into the prison. I already did a lot of wrong things when I was 6 years old, so they put me in a residential school. But I just use that because our government workers always use that word, but. Excuses. But it's coming again. I'm learning. You've done so much, my dear. I want to thank you. I don't know how to say it, but from a little girl to where you're at today, wishing my honey was here to witness this. That's who she was named after. When I spoke about my great-grandkids, my grandkids, you know, when my wife died, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren took over and came to look after me. They're still here today, looking after you now. Teach them more. Teach them more. Because this is the way our people were. And I believe with the freedom that is coming again, it's going to sprout. I've always talked about the spruce trees. Cake and Allah. Cake and Allah. Regardless of the winter, the summer, the coldness, the hot weather, it's still there. The roots down there was our ancestors. You see sprouting more. Our children, our grandchildren, and all the branches and the little needles that's so strong. And it's coming a lot more now. Always remember, the water gives you life. she's my water. Gwa'sala-Nakwaxda'xw. Thank you, my dear, for all the great things you've been doing. Now you can sing.
Gwa'sala, Dad. Gwa'sala-Nakwaxda'xw Walkus. He always reminds me that we have roots, and he reminds me that we have pieces of people that have gone on before us right here in this room today. All the youth that have passed away, all of our elders, all of our children, they're here with us today. And we do all of this because we've been taught, but we do all of this for the future as well. Thank you. I'm going to call on our Gwa'sala-Nakwaxda'xw elected Chief Leslie Walkus.
Good afternoon, everybody. Feeling a little bit emotional right now, so I asked my grandmothers to come support. The excitement for the nation today, the Gwa'sala and the Nakwaxda'xw, couldn't be possible without the generations before us and the strength that they passed on, the fight that they passed on, the team that was a part of making this possible, the partners that we worked with to make this possible, was all inherited from the fight that our elders and everybody in the community has been fighting for years. And it's emotional to me because it's a start. The law that is going to come into place that's going to provide care and protection to the future generations of the Gwa'sala-Nakwaxda'xw is why I'm so emotional right now. It's a start to return to our traditional ways of how we care for one another. It's a start to reuniting families, but in a cultural way. It's a start for the nation to return to our practices of when a child needs a safe place to go, that's going to happen in community. The opportunities that are going to be developed and engaged by our community members, and that's so exciting. It's a start of a road to come where we're looking at developing laws and returning. It's a start of the sovereignty of the Gwa'sala and the Nakwaxda'xw Nation, and to me that is so exciting. I asked my grandmothers to come here to just bring me some calmness while I get up and speak about something so important. And I visited Grandma the other day, and the conversation just naturally evolved to her speaking of the way things used to be in community, and the way that the matriarchs, the elders, and the ladies of the community had always had their doors open. And when the children wanted to go and spend a place through the weekend, my grandma here always has her doors open. And that's something that is exciting to be able to look forward to, is to have an agreement and have laws that are going to allow community to develop important programs for our children and families. And I think the beauty and things that make me smile is that, 2 weeks ago when I was visiting Grandma Mary here, that she was talking about that. She was talking about the need to return to the old ways of having safe places and community for our families to gather, and also be able to return home to their families. And just sitting there listening and learning from our elders, that's going to be able to be a part of our programs and a part of our services under this Gwa'sala-Nakwaxda'xw. And this conversation happened before I knew I was going to be up here speaking to everybody today. So I think I just want to thank my grandmothers, my mother, my family, for giving me that privilege of being able to be part of a safe home and having your guidance. And that I think that's the end goal of everybody here, is to work towards the return of our culture, but also having that done under the Gwa'sala-Nakwaxda'xw. And I think those are the only things that I wanted to speak to the community about, is the level of excitement of being able to take our next step and start relationships with Canada and BC in enacting this law in the near future, and taking steps within community to be able to build programs for our children and family, to build a beautiful area where services are offered for the children and the family of the community. And I think that's what I'm getting out of today. It's the start of so many different directions. It's the start of partnerships. It's the start of culture being woven into modern day law. But that is the culture of the Gwa'sala and the Nakwaxda'xw. So I think that's where I just wanted to get up and share that excitement with the community, and what this signifies for the nation. And that's the best way I'd be able to summarize it. It's the start. It's the start of the Gwa'sala-Nakwaxda'xw and the culture being woven into one.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Leslie. The story that he shared about Auntie Mary taking kids in is a very real one. She was the one that took in me and my brothers. If my mom weren't doing well, she didn't call the ministry. She didn't call the RCMP. She saw a need of children being neglected. She saw a need of my mom not doing very well, and she just took us in. She sent Maggie and Tommy and Mabel over, bundle us up in sleeping bags, and carry us over to her place. And there we stayed until my mom was okay. So we need that. And thank you, Leslie, for calling up our matriarchs. Yeah. Thank you. Next we have Minister Patty Hajdu.
Well, thank you so much for welcoming me here today and sharing such personal stories. And I too am filled with emotion. It's hard not to hear people's stories of grief and loss and not reflect a little on as a mother and as a daughter, how that feels. And I don't normally do this, but I'm going to tell you that the last story about aunties taking in kids is very personal. Because when I was 4 years old, my mother too struggled. And she was institutionalized in Montreal. And her sister, newly married in the United States back then they didn't have like online Tinder. It was like long distance dating by mail. She had met her husband through correspondence dating, and she was living in a little town called Chisholm, Minnesota, as far away from Montreal as you could imagine. It was an Anglophone community, obviously, America. I was a bilingual kid, and everybody agreed that rather than going into the Quebec foster care system, that I would be shipped on a plane to my auntie in Chisholm, Minnesota. And I've often said that that saved my life. That decision of my aunt to take in her brand new marriage with an American man, 2 children, me and my brother, 4 and 2, saved my life. So to the aunties in the room, a huge thank you. A huge thank you. I was speaking with some elected councillors just before this event started, and I said, it's an embarrassment and a shame that Canada has done this to you and your families and communities. And yet I stand here as an elected official and a minister of the Crown, which is a conflicted place to be. But I chose to enter politics because I truly believe that Canada has so much to make amends for. And that not only that, when we do the work that we've seen our community do with Canada and with British Columbia to restore your inherent rights to take care of your children, that as some people have already said, all of us will do better. I was really struck by the comments of all of the leaders this morning. The conversation started with a reminder of the history of where we've come from. Thank you, Hereditary Chief, and others for giving us just a tiny snapshot of how we got to this place. Chief Makwa, I'll never forget your description of Gwa'sala-Nakwaxda'xw. You are the reason for my living. I relate profoundly to that as a mother. The moment that baby is born, that is the feeling that you have. And so it is not difficult for especially mothers and fathers to understand the deep pain of losing your children. So for me to be able to understand that pain from the perspective of a child losing my mother and a parent thinking about losing my child, you could see how an entire community is so deeply impacted. I was also really encouraged and warmed by Chief Leslie Walkus bringing up grandmothers and talking about what this agreement means to the community. It means the creation of a strong foundation for healing. And so many leaders talked about that. The importance of healing being rooted in language and culture and tradition and family and land. And that's what this agreement means. It means a future where instead of condemning people who are sad and grieving and lonely and trying to heal on their own in silence, that we support them with love, with aunties and uncles and connections to language and culture and tradition. And now, with this agreement in place, I believe that you have some of those tools. And it's my commitment to you as a member of Parliament, as a non-Indigenous person, that no matter where I am, I will continue to fight for that right that you have, for self-determination, for your language, your culture, your children. It's important work, and I'm just so grateful to be doing it with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the words that you shared with us today. Minister of Children and Family Development, the Honorable Grace Lord.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is truly an honor to be here today to mark this starting line, to mark this start. I'm holding that mix of emotion that I have heard today, the excitement Chief Leslie shared, the hope, what it means, where this can and will take community, but mixed with the grief and the loss of recent grief and loss, but long historical grief and loss. And I thank you, Chief, for starting us with a timeline of where we are and what it means to be here together today doing this work. I always feel the weight of this role as Minister of Children and Families, the honor of holding this role, the deep responsibility, what this role has meant historically, and the work that I know so many people in this room have done is part of our government's commitment to reconciliation, to the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. But I think it has to be said out loud that nowhere was more harm done. Nowhere were the echoes of that harm more significant, and nowhere is the opportunity to make change, to recognize law, to recognize jurisdiction more important than when it comes to children and families. This coordination agreement, I know, recognizes, as Minister Hajdu said, the inherent right of nations to care for their own children and families, to do so under their own laws, through their aunties, grounded in community, in connection, in culture. And I know that the principle underpinning this coordination agreement is that each and every child is beloved, is a treasure, is a gift. And truly, Chief Leslie, I heard you repeat it a number of times that this is a starting line. And as minister, it's my commitment that that work continue, that we do this together, that we do this Galgapotha, standing together, holding hands, lifting each other up. And I want to express my deep gratitude to all the folks in our ministry, on our teams from Canada and in community who walk this together to this starting line, to do this work together, to do this differently, to have your children cared for in community, by community, grounded in love, connection, and culture. Thank you for having us here today to mark this milestone, to mark this success, and continue to hold that space for that grief and loss. Thank you.
Gwa'sala, our MLA, Michelle Babchuk. Yeah, Emily. You have a new name now.
Thank you very much. I'm extremely honored to be invited here today to witness a momentous time where we start to move this forward. I'm extremely honored to have this community's arms wrapped around me, whether it's because they're picking on me, calling me Emily, which I know is a term of endearment, or whether it's because I'm walking beside you to try to make change for children and families in this such loving community. I have come up here a lot. We have seen a lot of challenges over the last little while, We've tried to wrap our arms around family. And in return, I've had my arms wrapped around me as well. So once again, I'm extremely honored to be here today. I won't repeat what everybody else has said, but I believe to my core that this is the way that we move forward, the way that we protect our families, the way that we protect culture. And I hope, like I said, I've heard from the higher politicians there that this is something that's going to continue. And I'm looking forward to walking beside you to make sure that it does. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our mayor, Pat Labatt.
Thank you, everybody, for having me here today. I have to say thank you, Sala, for all you've done to advocate for jurisdiction for the children. Thank you to Mary. Mary came up to me and said, I am bubbling with happiness. And you could see the bubbles and the smile. And truly, it is a starting point. But I think Mary is an example of what can be, where children go to their aunties, to their grandmas, to their family, and learn about culture and continue the culture. And I have heard stories about Mary. Even before I knew Mary, I heard about stories about Mary and how she brought in people. And that's what we want, is our children are our life. Our grandchildren are our life. And how they do in your community affects how they do in Port Hardy. Because we are all one. We are all together. We want everybody to be healthy and happy and grounded. And this is, as Leslie said, this is a starting point. It's a miraculous starting point. And it's just amazing. And I'm just so thankful to the Government of Canada, to the Province of Canada, or Province of BC, Province of Canada, the Province of BC, but as well to the jurisdiction team that I've met a few down there that have worked so tirelessly, because what happens behind the scenes is a lot of talk, a lot of paper, a lot of making things happen. So thank you very much for all the hard work that everybody has done to make this happen for this occasion. And Sala, thank you for teaching me so much too. Chief Leslie Walkus, I've known for a long, long time. I know you've brought lots of people into your home too. And thank you for all the teachings that you have done over the years with me and my learning. And you may not know, but your words are in my head. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And thank all of you for coming and sharing space with us, sharing our joy, sharing our celebration, sharing all the hard work that's been put into this. And I'd like to take a 10-minute break before we have lunch. So please take 10 minutes and then we'll have lunch ready. Thank you so much.